Welcome to the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified G, bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. In this right here, this is G Money Grant Mitchell. We are here breaking down everything that happened in week 6 of the NFL, and there was a lot that happened in week 6 of the NFL, and you can't teach that. Bada boom, man of the people in the room. G Money Grant Mitchell, how you doing?
I'm doing better this morning than I was yesterday. As you know, we had some technical difficulties, couldn't get the show out. We apologize to everybody, but we're back. We're here. And honestly, a little bit luckily, it's Tuesday, so we get to talk about what happened on Monday Night Football.
I was so scared yesterday when we lost the YouTube channels because we lost them on Friday. And it was because there was a migration of the email system from one email to another. So it just totally deleted the email that was associated with the YouTube account. But the logo on the other channel, the World Sports Network channel, which you should go check it out. That's like a bunch of shorts. It was replaced to like the band logo. So I'm like on YouTube, like community forum, trying to figure out what this logo is. And it's basically saying it's banned or it's weird activity amongst the channel. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe it was the email. And I messaged our boss on Monday morning, like, can you fix this? And he was like, oh yeah, it was the email system. I'm like, thank God I didn't put a short out there that was banned.
Oh, so you thought at first you had gotten the channel deleted or something?
No, originally I did, but also there was never an email sent from YouTube being like, your channel is banned for this reason. So I'm assuming like once James came through with the email thing, it all made sense. But there was a moment where I was a little scared that I posted something that got hit for like a copyright and then the YouTube channel was gone. But we also lost access to Ride the Line, and that I knew that one wasn't banned.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we're here, and that's all that matters. We got it back.
We're here, just like the New York Jets are not here. They're not here at all. We're going to talk about them in a minute. But before we do that, make sure you guys check out WSN.com. Baseball season's in full swing. NBA is kicking off. We have the NFL, college football, bunch of writing previews, bunch of videos, bunch of promos on the site. Link in the description. Go check it out.
Good promo there, Tanner. Yeah, baseball season's more than just in full swing. We're at the penultimate stage. We're almost at the big dance.
I'm sick of the Dodgers right now. They got to be better. No excuse. just no excuse for how they played yesterday. Shohei Ohtani, how much does he make a year? Can't hit the ball. He sucks. He's trash. Dude's got to step up.
Earlier this year, I just found it funny how good Ohtani was because he was on like this huge batting slump. And his average fell to 293. Like that was horrible for him. He's so good. He's so good.
He's been bad with runners in scoring position. He hasn't been as bad as Aaron Judge. No, with runners in scoring position, he's been good. With nobody on the bases, which the Dodgers haven't had a lot of guys on the bases throughout these series. I mean, some games they have, others they haven't. He's trash. The swing that he took yesterday on the first strikeout to Manaea, he looked like you look like a T-baller who's not going to make it past the Little League field. Like that's what you look like, Ohtani. I need you to be better for me.
He swung at like 30%. Like he knew he wasn't hitting it. He just couldn't stop his body from doing it.
The ball hit the catcher's glove before he even started swinging. Like, what are you doing, Ohtani? You got to be better. So we'll see, but we're talking football today. And the biggest storyline in the NFL right now is New York Jets. I think everyone thought, not everyone, I wouldn't say that. I didn't really get a read on the game last night. I thought the Jets, I would have been surprised like going into the game saying the Jets can beat the Bills, even after firing their coach. However, when I was watching the game, I did lie bet the Jets because I thought the Jets had a realistic chance of winning the game. And obviously that didn't happen. But when you miss a couple field goals, when your offense isn't overly efficient, they looked a lot better. And then your defense really couldn't make stops when they needed to. It was a recipe for failure. So Grant, where do the New York Jets go from here?
Where do they go from here? I'll tell you, they go home for the summer. They're not going to the playoffs. Really, I guess they go home for the winter. This team is 2-4. They're 2-4 despite the Miami Dolphins going through everything they've gone through with Tua. So you would have expected them to have at least taken this opportunity to get into second, if not first in the division. They're not even there, and the future is just not. The outlook is not good. Aaron Rodgers, if you take out the Hail Mary, his yardage comes way down. He's like 220, 230, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The Hail Mary really makes his game and his box score look a lot more flattering than it was. They can't run the ball amazingly well. Breece Hall did have one very big run, which he really should have scored on. But aside from that, they weren't controlling the game. They weren't controlling the time of possession. The defense is good as always. But what I find so funny is throughout the entire offseason and the offseason before that, when they signed Aaron Rodgers and everybody was saying, how can you not think that's going to make a difference? They're going from Zach Wilson to Aaron Rodgers. That's all the difference in the world. They won 7 games last year. How could they not win at least 10? Did you know that through 6 games, these New York Jets have scored exactly the same amount of points as last year's New York Jets with Zach Wilson? This team is what it is, and it's just not working out. And it shouldn't have surprised anybody. It didn't surprise me.
Well, when I look at last night's performance from the New York Jets, when you take a step back and look at the box score, it actually wasn't as good as I would have thought it was, because one of the touchdowns came on a 50-yard Hail Mary to Lazard, which shouldn't have realistically been a touchdown. I know Aaron Rodgers is the king of doing that, but you can't count on that being a touchdown. And that was their second touchdown of the night. They only scored 3 points in the second half, obviously missed 2 kicks there. Rodgers did have 294 yards to the air. If you take out 50 yards, he was about 234. Breece Hall had a big night run the football, had a big night catching the ball, but overall it was a better performance from the New York Jets. But if this is the ceiling, if this is as good as it's going to get from an offensive perspective, they're still not going to win a lot of games.
That right there, I think this is the ceiling. I think that's the perfect way to put it. I don't see them playing much better than this, and this still wasn't that good. All that being said, they were absolutely in position to win this game. The missed field goals at the end, that makes all the difference in the world. And of course, if those go in, maybe they finally let Josh Allen actually throw the ball a little bit. The only time he's really throwing the ball deep down the field is if he runs out of the pocket and he has a free play. Aside from that, they're just not allowing him to throw the ball down the field. Again, depending on what happens, the Bills are going to respond differently. But I'm not mad at Jets fans for saying they should have won this game, or at least they should have had a better chance than they were given. But still, I think it's obvious the Bills are the much better team. And if you look around the entire AFC, matter of fact, let me just pull up the standings just to make sure I don't miss anybody. But are the New York Jets better than the Bills? No. They better than the Ravens? No. Are they better than the Bengals? No. There's an argument they're not better than the Steelers. How about the Texans? Absolutely not. The Chiefs? No. The Chargers? No. Are they better than the Denver Broncos? I think they're very similar teams. They've got limited offenses that are carried by defenses. This team is fighting for 8th or 9th best in the conference.
They looked a lot better last night. Offensively, they did look better. It's just not good enough. Aaron Rodgers in the offense, they don't seem to mesh well. It seems like the offensive line struggles to protect when they have to. And the defense is the key for the New York Jets. They need to win with defense, and you're not going to do that when you got Ray Davis, unbelievable story for Ray Davis. I don't know if you saw that. Just, credit to him for his tough times growing up, getting to where he is now. But 20 carries, 97 yards. The team rushed for 149 on the night, averaged 4.5 yards per carry. Josh Allen was as efficient could be through the air. Jets defense didn't make a stop. This is just, I think Aaron Rodgers got to go. I think the New York Jets got to fully restart. And I don't know if this team will ever be good, because if they're not good with this team, I don't know. They have such a great defense. It's amazing they haven't been able to win games over the past few seasons.
And look at their schedule. They've lost to the 49ers, the Broncos, the Vikings, and the Bills. That's a mixed bag. Arnold, they're undefeated, the Vikings are, but nobody expected them to be like that. The 2 teams they've beat, their wins. And I want to remind you, they won both those games back-to-back. After the second one, Aaron Rodgers said, we need to get used to dominating. We need to learn how to win. They beat the Titans and the Patriots. Those are their 2 wins. Those teams combined have 2 total wins. The Vikings or the Titans are 1-4. The Patriots are 1-5. This team is awful. They have not beat a team with 2 wins on their schedule.
No, I feel bad for anyone who took the over on the Jets wins, because it's not cashing. There's no chance it cashes. And it was I think it was 9, and it might have gone up to 10.5 at one point late. I think there was some action to get it up to 10.5, but it was 9.5 for most of the offseason.
It was one of I remember us talking about it. It was one of our favorite futures bets of the whole offseason, was the under on the win total.
Yeah, because it would have taken a perfect performance for them to go over that. They would have had to do everything right. You had to beat the Broncos. You got to split with the Bills. I'm not so sure they're going to split with the Bills now. So it's really bad. They couldn't start 2-4. You needed to start 3-3. I think you could be okay. There's a route for it, but 2-4 is really hard.
What I'm interested to see with them moving forward is building process again, which you kind of have to. You kind of have to on offense. You got to move on from Aaron Rodgers. You can hold on to Garrett Wilson, obviously, but some of the other guys over there, they're older players. Your left tackle, Ty Smith, who was getting destroyed off the edge last night, by the way, he's got to go. Lazard's got to go. Mike Williams has got to go. You've got to go through that whole process. You can't hold on to all of your best defensive pieces. It's just going to cost you too much money, and the timelines aren't going to line up. So what's going to happen to Quinn and Quincy Williams? What's going to happen to C.J. Mosley? What's going to happen to Sauce Gardner and D.J. Reed and Chuck Clark? These are players who all have real value on the open market. Now, I'm not saying you have a fire sale and you get rid of everything, but you could recoup some really good assets, some good picks from those guys. So I'm interested to see if the Jets are smart when they get to the end of the season. They will know we got to move on from Rodgers and we got to tear this thing down. I'm interested to see who survives. And unfortunately, the Jets fans are just going to have to put up with them being bad again for at least the next few years.
I mean, they're going to be bad for a long time, the way it looks right now, because they have a hell of a defense and they just can't figure out a way to win with Aaron Rodgers. And that's pretty deflating to your franchise. Like, you have Aaron Rodgers, and I know Aaron Rodgers isn't what he was 5-10 years ago, but you still have Aaron Rodgers and you can't win with that quarterback. So who's going to make it better?
I remember, matter of fact, let me go pull it up. I was looking at just free agents just to see who was out there. And I remember looking at the quarterbacks, and it's not good. Let's see if we can get a list up here. My computer's being slow. Okay, here we go. So your free agents this summer, you got Sam Darnold. Maybe that ends up being somebody you go after. Who knows? After that, it's Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Jacoby Brissett, Taylor Heineke, Marcus Mariota, Drew Lock, Jarrett Stidham, Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, Joe Flacco, Jameis Winston, Mac Jones, Jimmy Garoppolo. Those are the free agent quarterbacks you're pulling from.
I heard something the other day where they were talking about bringing Zach Wilson back, which would be insane if they did that. I don't think they ever would, but I saw a report on that the other day.
I'm confused in hindsight. Why the hell did the Denver – you got me?
Yeah, I got you. You've been lagging in and out a little bit.
Oh, my bad. I said I'm confused. Why did the Denver Broncos trade for Zach Wilson in the first place? What was the point of that?
He's a good backup. Like, he's a reliable backup.
But he's not going to get on the field, and if you're splitting hairs between Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson as your backup, your season's gone anyway. Like, why waste the draft pick?
What did they give for him?
Probably like a fourth or a fifth. I don't know. Here, let me go look.
There's something there with Zach Wilson. I think Zach Wilson could be the next Sam Darnold kind of guy. There is 100% something there, because when you look at, he went to the Jets, he had no help whatsoever. He had no weapons. He had no coaching staff. I mean, his coach got fired. He was a first round pick for a reason. Like, you look at Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold had a really bad career with the Jets. He sat as a backup in a good spot for a few years, learned how to play football, and went back out there. So, like, people that say Zach Wilson's not a legit NFL quarterback, you just don't know until they sit for a few years, they learn, and then they go out into a good system.
I looked it up. It was a sixth they got for him, but I agree with that.
Yeah.
I know this isn't in vogue. I kind of loved what the Patriots had done. Now they put Drake May in, but I'm all for, let's sit our rookie quarterback, unless it's a Caleb Williams situation where we think he's a generational prospect and we have weapons for him. The offensive line wasn't great, but we have a ton of weapons. If you're not like that, or you're not just supremely confident in your guy, like the Commanders with Jaden Daniels, let your quarterback sit. Tom Brady got to sit. Patrick Mahomes got to sit. Brett Favre got to sit. Aaron Rodgers got to sit. Some of the greatest quarterbacks ever weren't thrusted in there. And if you think about it also in reverse, the NFL is a step up from college. Well, college is a step up from high school. Tell me how many of these quarterbacks are playing as true freshmen when they get to college. It doesn't happen. You need time to adapt, not just to the playbook, but to the speed. And you can do that in practice, the speed of your teammates. You got to learn how to be a pro. You got to learn how to practice more intensely, physically and mentally. There's a whole lot that goes into it. So expecting these kids to come in and perform from day one, it's how you end up killing their careers. Yeah,
and you look at Zach Wilson, like, he's learning how to be a pro right now. Just how he handled, and obviously he was never in contention to be the starting quarterback for Denver. It was going to be Stidham or Bo Nix. But when they asked him, what's your thoughts on Bo Nix winning the job? He's like, kid earned it, a hell of a camp, and blah, 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 went on and on. But it was a really good response. So There's a lot of people, like even Denver's GM, I think people in Denver's front office said like he's good enough to be a starting quarterback someday. He's just got to sit here and learn. And if he did become a starting quarterback, he would be America's sweetheart. Like I don't think anyone would not root for him,
especially the moms.
Yeah, especially the moms. Anyways, Nick Sirianni, what a whack job. All right, Sirianni shaved his head. Number one, that's a sign that you're gonna go crazy when you shave.
It's a midlife crisis.
It is. Like shaving your head mid-season is not good. Then like I didn't see it go down. I saw it on Twitter after, but he was like fighting with fans in the stands, like Eagles fans in the stands when they beat the Cleveland Browns because they only won by a few points. And then after the game, he brings his kids to the press conference and he's like, don't ask me hard questions because my kids are here. Like that's like you can't be a whack job, go flip out on somebody in the stands and then bring your kids to the press conference.
Yeah, he is the biggest. Look at me. Here I am. In his press conference, he said that we don't like it when they boo us. It's not productive. How productive is it on the field to yell at your own fans? I'm just trying to connect the dots here if we're all about productivity. If you play in Philadelphia, and again, going back to him saying booing isn't productive, he said we love it when they cheer for us. What you're telling me is you want all of the benefits of your job, but anytime you don't perform, you don't want it to bite you in the ass. If that's how life worked, I mean, life would be sweet. You only get the good and everything. You never have to deal with the bad. That would be awesome, but that's not how it happens. That's not how it goes down. You coach in Philadelphia. The fans, when you're winning, or not even if you're winning, but if you're playing hard and you've got promise and you're showing grit, Philadelphia is going to support you until the death. We know what type of fans these are. But if it's not working, they threw snowballs at Santa Claus. And for Nick Sirianni to somehow act like he is above this team, when I think everybody, including his own players, would agree their 25-year-old quarterback is more mature and acts like more of a coach than he does. I don't know where he gets this ego from. I don't know why he's so full of himself. And I don't know why he can't look himself in the mirror and say, I'm about to lose my job. We're off of a bye week. Going against the Browns, I don't know if you've seen some of the numbers. Deshaun Watson is having arguably the worst quarterback season in NFL history. We only beat them by 4 points. Why can't he look at himself in the mirror and say, I'm not doing my job?
Accountability. It's not good. And Sirianni, I don't know how he took this team to the Super Bowl. I don't know how Jalen Hurts took this team to the Super Bowl because I do like Jalen Hurts, but he does not look like a Super Bowl quarterback one bit right now. And I think Sirianni will be gone at the end of the season because I don't think the Eagles are going to make the Commanders are going to win this division right now. It looks like the Commanders will win the NFC East. And if that is the case, because the Cowboys sure as hell aren't. And if that is the case, the Eagles could be left out of a playoff spot, realistically.
So what do you think the odds are for the division?
I think Eagles are still the favorite.
What numbers you got? I'm looking at them right now.
Eagles probably minus 130.
So you got the Commanders where?
They in third still or second?
They're in second.
Plus 170.
So you're pretty close. You're off by about the same margin in both directions. It's actually closer than you think it is. They got Eagles plus 120, Commanders plus 145.
Okay, so yeah, I was way off with the Eagles, close with the Commanders. I think the Commanders can win this division, and the Philadelphia Eagles they don't look good. That's what it comes down to, and it's because their head coach. Like we see how much a head coaching change can change a player. Like Tua, I think going from Brian Flores to Mike McDaniel, like it made him a different player. And I know who knows if he'll ever play again. It seems like he's going to play, but he was a totally different player. The locker room changed. Like I think a Mike McDaniel could do wonders with the Philadelphia Eagles because he's a player's coach. Where I think Nick Sirianni kind of is a player's coach, but I think he's a whack job. And also too, the fact that he was fighting with fans that are paying their hard-earned money to come to the game, which pays your salary, like that just doesn't sit well with anybody. Also,
not just head coaches are important. Coordinators are so important. And if you look at the Eagles Super Bowl run, they had Jonathan Gannon. Of course, as this always happens. Anytime your team has success, you lose your coordinators, you lose assistants, whatever. Jonathan Gannon was there. We don't know how he's going to be as a head coach. It hasn't worked so far, but that team is pretty terrible. I think it's tough to judge him. But when he was there in that final season, that Eagles defense, they were just behind the 85 Bears for sacks in a season. They had the second most sacks, gave up the fewest passing yards per game. So they had that going for them. And then on offense, they had Shane Steichen. And Shane Steichen was able to get Gardner Minshew and company to the playoffs last year at 9-8. And all of a sudden, he's working his magic again with Joe Flacco. I mean, he's worked with great quarterbacks. He worked with Jalen Hurts, obviously. He worked with Justin Herbert. So because the coordinators have changed, and Nick Sirianni, I think if you look at the big three, the coach and both coordinators, he's always been the least important figure of the three. He's just been the figurehead. Now that he's being asked to do a lot more and there's more pressure at his door, you're starting to see him unravel.
I think Sirianni was the perfect coach for Philadelphia. We all thought he was, because like when things were going right, he was like a trash talking Philadelphia kind of guy. Like people loved him. But with things going wrong, you have to own up to it and you have to take responsibility for it, because their season isn't over. They're still in good shape realistically. They're not playing well, but record wise, they're still capable of winning this division, beating the Commanders, beating the Cowboys, all that good stuff. But I don't think he'll be here at the end of the season. I can't imagine he is. It just doesn't look like he has any control. And stuff like this is filed. So it's the first thing people go to fire you when things go wrong.
I just pulled up the Eagles and the Commanders schedules because I wanted to see how they line up. Washington is a game ahead right now. It's not terribly difficult for Philly, and honestly, it's very similar to the road the Commanders have. Philly's upcoming games at the Giants, at the Bengals, not terrible there. Home for the Jaguars, at the Cowboys, the Commanders, at the Rams, at the Ravens. So pretty easy there. The Ravens game won't be easy, but aside from that, and then with Washington, you've got the Panthers, the Bears, at the Giants, Steelers, at Eagles, Cowboys, Titans. Again, both schedules are pretty easy. So honestly, this is going to come down to the head-to-head matchups between the two teams, and also who just loses the game that they shouldn't. Who has the more head-scratching loss? You would expect that to be Washington. Washington on paper, I don't care what the performances say. On paper, Washington is worse than Philadelphia, and they're the one with the rookie quarterback. But I think everyone would agree that Philly is the team more likely to have that loss. They almost lost to the Browns. At the end of the fourth quarter, the Browns were on the Philly 3-yard line. They lose by 4 points. They kicked a field goal on that drive. You know what happens if they score a touchdown from the 3-yard line? It's a tie game.
Yeah, no, it's not good right now in Philadelphia, and it'll be interesting to see how they come out moving forward. Jalen Hurts did look okay, 16-25, 264, 2 touchdowns. Barkley was kind of shut down, which the Browns do have a good defense, but it just comes down to how the win is handled, how the wins are handled, how the losing is handled with Sirianni. Got a couple fun topics here to end the show. Let's start with Will Levis. Will Levis is on a generational run right now.
This is your guy.
I do like Will. Like, I'm not saying I don't, but you can't blame, number one, people were putting the meme of the ball boy on the cart in the pictures of him. You can't add that. Like, that's not his fault, people. If a quarterback, if any other if Jalen Hurts does that, it doesn't even make the internet. In no way. If any other quarterback does that, it doesn't make the internet. But since he did it, it's now part of the meme of like collage of just all the pictures. This, I have no clue what this was in the end zone. His like Spidey.
It was like Spider-Man.
He was doing Spider. Like, bro, like let's throw for 100 yards and then let's hit that. Okay. And I love him. Like, I'm a big Will Levis supporter, but you're just giving people shit to talk about.
You know what's really funny? I'm thinking back to like a year and a half ago. You said on one of the shows that Will Levis should be taken first ahead of Bryce Young. And while that sounds crazy in hindsight,
no, he should.
He's had a better career than Bryce Young so far. So you weren't wrong.
Oh yeah, 100. Were they the same class?
Yeah, it was okay. Will Levis, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud.
Yeah, no doubt. Will should have went ahead of Bryce Young. That is. I would much rather have Will Levis than Bryce Young, because at least probably neither of them are going to work out just based on how quarterbacks work in the NFL. Like, not saying anything against either of them, but the fact of the matter is, like, I'd rather have the kid who's 6'4", 240 pounds with a damn rocket arm than Bryce Young. Like, I can do something with that. I can't do anything with Bryce Young. He's 5'11". He looks like the kid that you make in like a 2-star prospect in Road to Glory mode, and maybe he'll be the starting quarterback by the end of it. That's what he looks like.
All I know is CJ Stroud kind of killed the whole, what is it, S2, the cognitive test. We can't really use that anymore.
No, that was bad.
He scored like a 17%.
Honestly, like, you got to think about it too. A lot of these kids don't go to school. And I'm not saying CJ Stroud didn't go to school, but a lot of these college kids don't go to school. Like, they do football. So if you test it, like they need to come up with a cognitive test on football. If they can do that, and it judges how quick their reaction time is and how quick they process stuff from a quarterback position, we can buy into that. But like, honestly, just because you're not, and I don't think those tests, are they school smart tests or are they just like general cognitive?
No, they're not school smarts, but I don't know exactly what they're. I think they're general logic and general reasoning, and that has a place, obviously, but some of it also kind of borderlines, like when you have to figure out patterns and things like that. That's more like a math and science sort of field. Again, I don't know exactly what this test looks like. But when you're watching a pattern, they'll flash lights. It'll be like blue, orange, green, whatever you got to remember. Stuff like that. That feels appropriate. Or if you can figure out a way to do it with football players, like say a quarterback has to memorize the progression of reads. Like it's here, and they have to recite it back. That's still that cognitive side, but because it is related to football, that probably makes it a better reflection of, their processing on game day.
Yeah, and I'm not saying CJ Stroud did or didn't go to class, but all I'm saying is, for damn sure if CJ Stroud needed a tutor in every class that did every single ounce of work for him at the Ohio State University, they were going to make that happen. That's all I'm saying. So we can't judge him off that.
Yeah, I don't know. I never understood the whole test taking thing. Honestly, he said it himself. He said, "I'm a football player, not a test taker," and yeah. I agree. But what are we doing? We don't hold pencil and paper when we're on the field.
Let's see. I want to see something. CJ Stroud. I want to see what his major was at Ohio State. There's probably all these guys are communication, which we're in communications. So
yeah, I was gonna say I got a communications degree.
That's what they. Let's see, Ohio State. They don't have his. Where's his Ohio State football? I want to find this. Do they even list their majors on those pages anymore?
Majored in family sciences and human development.
Okay, so that's communications basically, not but it's kind of the same thing.
It's not neuroscience.
No, it's probably. I bet some of his classes were like going to a daycare center and playing with the kids.
One time, I don't even know if I should say this because it kind of brings my degree into question. I took an online public speaking class in college.
It's crazy. That's insane. Online public speaking. What's the point?
I had to argue with some of my friends. I said, "You'd be surprised how tough it is to stare into a camera." I was trying to win the debate. I did not win the debate.
So I was a history major. So I took like all history classes in my undergrad just because I needed that to graduate. But when I did get my master's in like sports journalism, if I would have had these classes as like my undergrad, you wouldn't have had to go to school. Like I learned a lot, but none of it was like super hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's I don't know how to. I'm with you. I had a lot of difficult assignments and I did learn a lot, but it's not something you necessarily go study for. It's a lot of rinse and repeat practice type stuff. But like you said, you don't have to be there to be pouring down over your notes or anything. It's just a lot of it keep dropping out. I'm sorry, I keep dropping out. My professor was a crazy strict grader, and he would make his comments, hand it back, and I would look at everything. And we had a little, the AP style book. Obviously, I'd look at the AP style book, and that's kind of how I figured it out.
Yeah. So none of it was like super, like a lot of it's like social media, like make a graphic, make a video. And I guess it's all stuff you're interested in, but it's not like you're pouring down calculus and trying to be a doctor either, So
in one of my classes, it was a play-by-play broadcasting class. It was actually taught by our football announcer. All we did, we went to class. He loaded up. He brought in a PlayStation. He had the computer play the computer, and everybody voice recorded into their phone, and they commentated the game. That was really it. Cool. And you turned that in as your project.
And that's all fun. Like that's fun classes. So, final story of the day here, Dan Campbell, and I feel very, very bad for Aidan Hutchinson right now, but when you scroll through Twitter, you see like the football gods are against Dan Campbell. Because when you're running trick plays up 40 freaking points, like bad stuff is going to happen to you. And it just happened that Aidan Hutchinson snapped his leg. So it's not a good sign for the Lions.
No, it wasn't a great sign. And this is upsetting to me because I think I've said this on the show. I don't see the San Francisco 49ers winning the Super Bowl. I don't see them getting to the Super Bowl. Now, this has changed things, But before this happened, I had pinpointed the Lions. I said, this is the best team in the NFC. This is the team I think is going to go to the Super Bowl. I don't know if they can get there, and especially if they can win it without Aidan Hutchinson. Their defense, it's gotten better, but they were an elite run defense last year. Not quite as good this year, but still good. And their pass defense has gotten to about league average, which, considering how good the rest of the team is, that's fine. You can live with that. Without Aidan Hutchinson there to speed up the opposing quarterback, it's going to give them more time in the pocket, obviously. That causes me some concern here. If I'm Detroit, I'm getting on the phone. I'm saying, look, we were awful for so long. We need to go all in right now. You look around the NFC, it's as wide open as it's been in recent memory. And Patrick Mahomes is finally struggling, finally, for the first time in his career. Around, go call the Raiders. See if you can get Max Crosby. If they want 2 first-round picks for him, you give them 2 first-round picks.
I think they would do that.
Go talk to Hassan Reddick. He's not going to play for the Jets, clearly. Go talk to anybody you can find who's not on a contending team and just give up whatever they want, because you got to replace Aidan Hutchinson. This is the year you can win the Super Bowl, so you got to go out there and try to make it happen.
Yeah, I don't know what the contracts look like for them, but they have a young team, and they have a young, exciting team. They've drafted well. They got a lot of good in-house talent that they've developed. So they probably have room to go out and get one of those guys at the trade deadline. And I think they will, because they see that this is their window right now. Jared Goff is playing great. You have David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. You have a great receiving core, a strong offensive line. Your defense is the one weak spot that has improved. And if you can go get a legitimate pass rusher to replace Aidan Hutchinson now, you got a really good chance of winning the Super Bowl. So it wouldn't be surprising to see them do that.
The only thing I would worry about them with the Super Bowl is kind of the reliance on the trick plays and going for it on 4th down. It's a very volatile style. And hey, I like it. That's going to win you games that you shouldn't win, but you also are going to put yourself at risk of losing games you should have won. Remember the Cowboys game last year with the whole uncovered, what's his name? I forget his name. The guy reported eligible. When they had that penalty call for them, it backed them up to the 7-yard line, and Dan Campbell still went for 2. It's those situations which are going to cause you concern from the Lions. But again, because they're willing to run fake punts from their own 25-yard line, they're going to keep drives going that otherwise would have ended, and maybe that wins you a game.
That's just who he is, though. I was watching Brian Kelly versus Lane Kiffin this weekend. Was like just the dumbass aggressive bull. Like 4th down inside the 40-yard line, I'm going for it. Like every time, not even a question. 4th and 1, Lane Kiffin on the 3-yard line when you just drive the field. I'm not even going to think about it. We're just going to get on the ball as quickly as possible and run the football. And we don't get it. Like there's when you have these coaches, and I was sitting there and I bet on LSU this weekend, and I'm watching this game and I'm getting angry at Brian Kelly's decisions. And luckily he didn't go for 2 at the end of the game there, because I think that was the right move. But you just got to know these coaches are going to do crazy things, and it's going to look stupid more than it probably is going to look good. But the times when it looks good, like that's just who they are. And you got to know that.
I had a friend who was at that game, and he said when he left, he could not go to sleep until 3 a.m. because his head was ringing. It was so loud the whole game.
Yeah. We're going to talk some college football on Thursday, because we got some interesting stuff. Like LSU is a legitimate SEC championship team right now. So there's a lot of good stuff to talk about in college football. So if you like that, make sure you tune in on Thursday.
Yeah, Texas A&M, LSU, whichever one of those teams wins has a really good chance of being in the college football playoff.
Yeah, LSU's got a cake schedule too. Once they get through A&M, they have
same
schedule.
with A&M. They've got a cake schedule. They got Texas last game of the year, but they don't have a conference loss right now. If they beat LSU, they've got like South Carolina and Mississippi State, and they'll be fine. Yeah,
so it'll be interesting to see, Grant. But why don't you take us out of here for Tuesday, October 15th?
Guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Ride the Line. Tanner and I appreciate you all hopping in with us. Make sure you hit the like button before you click on out of here. Make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. We will catch you all on Thursday's episode of Ride the Line.